Yas, Mr. Brian Stewart. That sounds like the gayest, scumbaggiest, Marxist, say scumbaggiest name I've ever heard. Yes. You should be embarrassed by that name, Brian Stewart. That is a disgusting, communist type name. And if I were you, I would jump off the highest building possible into the coldest, darkest, deepest place on the planet, Stewart. Come on. As you can see, if we go from 1980 to the year 2020, I think that's the last year it goes in on this one. If you bought $100 in 1980, you need $313 to buy that same shit, which means you had an inflation of 213%, which essentially means if you had 100 grand in the bank, it would have about $10,000 worth of purchasing power now, right? At a nominal, the price, the dollars will still be the same, but what you take home after you convert the dollars into your merchandise will be 200% less than you got in 1980, right? See how that works? There's another one, a little bit easier. There you go. And this has got a lot of shit there too, which is I've broken down into those. We'll do more of those tomorrow, the next day. But you can see inflation adjusting gold return. This is a good gold amount of $1,000 or the same $100. Calculate over the last 10 years. The dollar has lost 213% since 1980, right? The same dollar, if you have the same dollar. Oh, this is probably the one that doesn't work. Takes forever. Yeah, this is the one that takes forever. I need to delete that so I don't fucking use it. This is a good one. So look, we'll go, if you made and had a ton of money in 2010 and now in 2020, if you in 2010, I purchased an item for $1,000, what would it cost today? It cost $1,234, 23% inflation, cumulative rate of inflation in 11 years, which means the other way, if you had $100,000 in the bank, you've lost 23.5%, nearly 24% in purchasing power. So that 100 grand still there makes you feel all nice and happy in the bank because it still says 100 grand. But when you go to exchange those dollars for merchandise, cars, TVs, food, energy, gas, heat, etc., you only get $24,000 less of stuff that you have in your house. So your stuff is less, even though the money's still there. And every year it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger. Right?
Sweet Phil.
That's the
And you
power,
still don't
and
get
that's
it.
the
You know it.
travesty of holding on to dollars for long periods of time. For short periods
You
of time,
still
dollars are
don't
good. You
get
can
it,
use them to
do you,
exchange for things
Phil?
quickly and
You
easily.
just want to be the rock side route, right? And I told
But
you,
over
I
either
am not
a
a
short
financial
period of
advisor.
time, you do not want to hold
Nor do
dollars.
I play one on this own
If you have
radio
a bunch of excess
show.
cash,
This is
it's not
strictly
being invested.
education and
Holding
entertainment
it in
only,
dollars is among the
Phil, or
it
I'm
is the
going to
worst
have to
thing you
bring a
can hold it in
lawsuit.
because it's guaranteed to eventually lose 99.999% of its value over time. You can see inflation marks the quickest pace since 2008, right? Because we've had lots of inflation because the communist Joe Biden is printing money at an even higher rate than fiscal communist or socialist monetary policy, anyways, former President Trump was printing, and communist and Marxist predecessors, Barack Obama, and what was the other douchebag? The other communist, George W. Bush, right? The second. Because they just continue to debase the currency. You have inflation, energy 13%, food 3.5%, right? You're getting hammered, and every year your money that sits in the bank, they're going to give you for 100 grand. You're getting about $40 in interest on 100 grand in the bank, but you're going to lose 3.5% in purchasing power for the year. So $40 versus you're losing 3,400 in purchasing power this year, 3,400 next year, and over 10 years, you've essentially, your purchasing power has been printed away and it has no value, right? That's why you need to start you need to start holding at least a little bit of real money. And real money is God's money, right? God's money cannot be.
Good early afternoon on this shitty, hot, uncomfortably sticky
94 degrees with a high dew point
Look at the big
as these
ballistic
high
move in the stock
overcast
market
cumulus nimbus
in the
clouds
late,
begin to
like
filter into the west and the
1927
north
on. That's all that
as a
money, all that cheap
strong
money that the Fed put
midsummer,
into the system, sent
early
stocks up into the
July
stratosphere.
cold front
And then
starts
when
to
they
make
took
its
the
way
cheap money
into
away,
northern
the
Michigan
market
today and progresses
collapsed.
east and south.
And that
Tonight
started
and
the
tomorrow
Great
brings in
Depression,
much
but
more
what really
comfortable
made it
air in
great
on
was
Thursday, Friday, and on
Hoover
into the
and
weekend with
Roosevelt
highs in the mid to upper
interfering
70s with lots lower
and not
humidity.
allowing the
Beautiful
market
days
to
coming
correct
up
all
after
the
today and a
malinvestments that
shittier
were
day
made
tomorrow.
during
Here
that
in
period of
Ford
time.
Romeo, at the
Now, to go
shithole
from
plant,
the sublime to the ridiculous,
the
it's
Italians
Ben
in the movie
Bernanke's
had it right.
discussion of the housing
Tell that fat old
right?
man
Now-
to go to his big ugly plans to build his
Ben
big
Bernanke,
ugly cars
and I'll
in
forget-
Detroit, right?
is talking
Fucking
about
place
the housing
sucks
bubble.
dick, and I would never work
And
for this fucking
according
company.
to Ben Bernanke, and you can
Right?
see,
They
the
suck
chart of housing
balls.
prices where they
Anybody
go
out
ballistic.
there that works for
And
Ford,
it's maybe
go
it's in
fuck
the
off
later
because this
slide, but I'm
company
just going to talk
sucks
about it. I'll
dick.
show the slides.
Especially their
Ben
safety
Bernanke
faggot.
says that there are some people out there
Get lippy with
who
me.
believe,
Fuck off,
for
cunt.
some crazy reason, that the Fed's low interest rate had something to do
Fucking
with the
big
housing bubble.
douchebag. What
Now,
do
of
we
course, I
got?
don't
We're gonna
think the
do a
Fed
couple coins
had
on
something to do with the housing
Breakmatic. We'll
bubble.
go over real
I mean,
quick.
if the housing bubble was a baby, the Fed
See
fathered
what we got going on,
and
Sean
raised
Matic.
it and nurtured
Right.
it. I mean, the Fed created it.
Actually, I think
right?
you got going
It
on
wasn't that they
here
had
in
something
Matic
to do with it. They
is
had
you obviously have
everything
that,
to do with it. Now, Ben
but
Bernanke claims that all the
I think you got
evidence
something
shows that the
looks more
Fed's
like this
policies
going on.
had nothing to do with the housing bubble. Well, I don't know what evidence he's looking at.
Right, yeah.
But all the evidence shows the opposite. See, according to the Federal Reserve, the Fed
You
had
got
nothing to do
something
with
like
the housing
this
bubble.
going on.
Now, before I even discuss point by point his ridiculous
Yeah.
arguments, think about the
No.
Fed's credibility on the housing bubble. In
And we got this going on in this
2004,
overhead resistance,
right, this is pretty serious into the bubble.
and it looks to
In
be a bearish
2004,
continuation
the Federal
pattern.
Reserve Bank of New York
And then you would
put
do
out an
this.
intricate, detailed study because they wanted to study whether or not there
Come
was a housing
on,
bubble.
trading
So they put
view.
out a huge study, and they came back, and the conclusion
It never
of the Federal
fucking
Reserve
fails.
was there is no evidence of a housing
And then you
bubble.
would pull it to the point
Now,
of a
when this
potential
thing came
breakout,
out, I was shocked.
right?
I'm like, what is it? No
Get rid of
evidence. What are
that.
you, blind? And I was
You
really
know
read
what
all the
that
stuff
is.
I was
When
writing
you see
back
it
in
comes all the way
2004,
almost down to the
published it, I
200-day
sent it
moving
out
average,
to
which
hundreds
to
of
me seems
reporters.
more
I gave them all the evidence that the
plausible
Fed
than not
was
plausible, right? So that's where I think you're going in
of a
Manic.
housing bubble.
I think you're going to
And
break
to
down
me,
out
at
of
the
that.
time,
Come
there was
through
so
this
much evidence
key
of the bubble.
underneath
It was so
support
obvious
at
that I
red
thought, how
line.
could they possibly
And I think
miss
you're
it?
going to come down to about
And I
80
started
cents.
thinking, maybe this is
And
just
Matic,
pure
our indicators are
propaganda.
bearish, the
I mean,
volume's
the Fed is
dead.
so concerned about the housing bubble,
And
they
just
know
like all
people
these
are
other
figuring it
evil
out, that they're trying
scumbags and all
to,
this
they're trying to
Shiva
lie to
shit
us so that we
up
don't
there
know
when you
about
guys
it,
were
because the
asking
Fed
me,
wanted to
I
maintain
said,
the cheap money
all
in
this were
2004.
jabronis.
And,
Right?
but
I
if they
said
knew there was a
jabroni,
housing bubble and it
jabroni,
was being fueled by the
jabroni,
cheap money,
jabroni,
they would have to
jabroni,
raise interest rates.
jabroni.
They didn't want to raise
Whole
interest
bunch
rates,
of
so they had to
fucking
pretend there was no
jabronis. Just
housing
like that
bubble that needed to
fucking
burst.
douchebag at
So
Ford.
they trumped
He
up
would have
this
bought
phony
up there
study.
and up
But
there
those are the
and
only
up
two
there, and then
explanations.
watch
Either
it
the
tank,
study is
and then he
phony
would
and it
sell
was
down
deliberately
here.
designed
He's a
to be
fucking
used
moron.
as PR, even though
That's
the
why
Fed
he's
knew
walking
there was a
around with a
housing bubble.
clipboard like
Or
a
the
big
Fed is
giant
completely incompetent
douche.
and they couldn't
You
figure it
know,
out, even though
big
it was the
douche.
biggest bubble in our
And that's where
history.
the big douches
But
buy,
not
the
only the Fed
jabronis
itself
buy
couldn't figure it out.
all up
Ben
there.
Bernanke,
See
you
that?
can go
All up there?
and look, even on
So the
YouTube,
fucking
there's another
jabronis
YouTube
buy like
video,
that
Peter
asshole
Schiff was
up here
right,
at
which
Ford
has some of
plant.
my
That idiot's
TV
buying up
appearances
there.
from
But you guys, no,
2006 and 7. Well, there's
You
another
guys aren't
video,
buying
not
up
as many
there
people have
because
seen
you
it. It's
listen to
called
old
Ben Bernanke was
Vincenzo.
wrong. And I didn't do this one, but it
What
has
else do
Ben
we got?
Bernanke going
What
on
other
CNBC
bullshit
a
coin
few
do we have
times
here?
in
Everybody was so
2005 and
excited about
2006,
Quant.
specifically
Where's
saying
Quant at?
there's
It's
no
down to
housing bubble.
78?
It doesn't
Yeah,
exist.
no, if we close to that
The
$20
housing
now,
prices
we've
are
lost
supported
about
by solid fundamentals.
40%
And then Ben Bernanke
since the
went on
top,
to say,
and we told
even
you
if
we were in a
housing
head and
prices
shoulders
go
topping
down,
reversal
it's not gonna
pattern,
have
but
any
like that
impact on
douchebag in the
employment.
Ford plant,
This is
you
what this
fuckers
guy
didn't
said.
listen either, and you're
So
going
let's
to
get
get
this
fleeced
straight.
and
A
shysted
guy
as
who
this
not
is going
only
to roll over,
couldn't see
and
the
just
housing
like the
bubble,
jabroni, the guy at
even
Ford
at
and the
its peak.
douchebag Ford
In
guy
fact,
there
even after it
bought
burst,
this whole
he still
topping
denied it
pattern,
existed.
and then he's going to sell down
This
there
is the
because
guy
he's a
that's
big
telling
idiot.
us that the
Like
Fed
to
didn't
subscribe
cause
and
it?
share.
Well, if
Don't
he
be a
didn't
big
see it,
idiot
how
like
does he
this guy
know?
here at Ford.
Maybe he caused it by
Be a
accident.
shepherd and a
He
leader and not a
obviously
sheep and
doesn't
a follower.
understand it
Like,
unless he's
subscribe,
lying
and
about
share.
it. Of course, if
Peace
he's
and
lying,
love.
then he has
Peace
no
and
credibility
love.
anyway.